Out my ducks, welcome to the Hermit's Cave. Lovely to see so many of you here. I'm just going to do a collective hello because there's already like 40 people in the chat waiting. So as you can see, I'm joined by a guest today. I have the great pleasure of introducing a brand new tarot creator. Welcome to Jack Brutus Penny. Hi, Jack.
Hello.
How are you doing? I
I'm
understand it's very early there, isn't it, where you are?
It's very early. I've been up since 3:30 in the morning, and now it's 4. So it's my pleasure to meet everyone. And thank you very much for having me here, especially as a new creator. And I know that you've had some great creators on here, so I have big boots to fill in today's discussion.
And you'll be absolutely fine. Yeah, we was just talking before we went live, and you've been watching some previous catching up with, haven't you, just to to get you sort of ready for the interview. Is this your first ever interview then on YouTube, or?
To be honest, no, I've done quite a lot over the years, spoken on stages. I've worked as a teacher, but that doesn't stop me being incredibly nervous every time. In my wedding speech, I was shaking so much that I had to put my drink down and paper down because it was it was getting too messy.
Yeah, I can relate to that. The first time I ever had to do public speaking was at my sister's wedding. I gave my sister away because my dad passed away when we were young, and I gave her away, and all I could think about all day was this speech that I'd got to give, and I was exactly the same. Oh shit! And I just thought I could never ever do public speaking. But a bit like yourself, I work in education, and you kind of get used to it when you stood up. And what I find quite comforting is as long as you know kind of your area and your speciality and what it is you're talking about, then it becomes easier, doesn't it, to talk publicly because it's your passion. What we're going to be talking about is something that excites you and you're passionate about. So
Yeah, I completely agree. I was saying earlier before we spoke as well that a lot of your guests have such depth of knowledge in tarot and stuff, and I'm not sure I bring that depth, but I hope I can bring a different experience, different perspective. So all I'll do is try and be me, and hope some people are interested in listening.
Oh, they will. I can guarantee that. Chris, you haven't missed much. We've just been doing kind of like just an introduction, really, introducing Jack, and yeah, we're about to start the interview. So we will talk about obviously your Kickstarter campaign, which is current at the moment, already smashed its funding goal, which is really good to see. But I just want to kind of take us back to the beginning, really. You mentioned that you got up at 3:30 this morning. It's like 4 a.m. where you are. So you're originally from London, that's right, isn't it? And for the last 20 years, you've been living in Japan. Um, do you want to tell us a little bit about that journey? Why you've gone from UK to Japan?
Sure, yeah, it's a pleasure. And I noticed I'm keeping a little side eye on the comments as well. Someone mentioned it's Valentine's Day, so
Oh yeah.
for me it's not Valentine's Day anymore. So this is not the romantic date on my side anymore. But happy Valentine's Day to you.
Yeah, you're
So
in
yeah,
Sunday. You're
yeah.
Sunday
So
already,
for me
aren't you?
it's 4 a.m. on Sunday now because I am in Japan. Um, so I grew up in North London, and I grew up to an artistic family. So my mother actually at the time was the youngest gallery owner or gallery organizer in England, I think. And so when her gallery also kind of changed premises, our house became a gallery. So I kind of grew up around installations and custom art, and my journey kind of took me to Japan. So I got my main hobby was in martial arts. So I did Chinese Tai Chi, I did Korean Taekwondo, and I did Japanese Kendo, Iaido, and Jodo. And so this kind of took me into the Japanese culture. So at university, I started. I joined the Japanese Society and I became an executive member. So we were kind of organizing big events celebrating Japanese culture. So in one of the biggest university festivals. I think 10,000 people were attending, watching me dance with a group, and I think I was the only non-Japanese person in that in the troupe of dancing a soranbushi, which is kind of like a festival dance. And so then I eventually moved to Japan because I had to at that point. Like I had to experience the true culture, and then I never left. So I met my wife here, and we've formed a family here. So yeah, I've been in Japan for nearly 20 years now.
Wow. And do you like living in Japan? Is there anything about the UK you miss?
There are a lot of things, and all of the things that people would be shocked to hear. Obviously, the number one is all my family at the other side of the world, so that's very tough for me. Um, yeah, so not seeing my family like once a year is not enough. But I miss the food and I miss the weather, and those are the two things that people would say, like, "Oh, England, food and weather." But I truly miss the food and the weather. I miss, like, every time I come back, I have a list of food. I need to have a Cornish pasty. I need to have a proper scone. There are certain things that I miss a lot. The weather, because Japan is so extreme. Like the winter is so dry that I had never experienced this. And sorry for getting a little bit graphic, but my fingers, my lips crack and bleed with how dry it is. Like it is so dry. And then in the summer, it's so humid and hot. It's incredible. So spring and autumn here are amazing.
Yeah.
But in an ideal world, I would be split each season in the other country.
Yeah, no, I can understand that, and I think whenever we see all the beautiful pictures of Japan, it tends to be in the springtime, doesn't it?
It's
You
the
know?
cherry blossoms in the spring, isn't
Yeah.
it? And then it's the maple leaves, the red leaves in the autumn. Somebody asked where in London I'm from, so just to jump on that, I'm from North London, from a place called Highbury. I actually grew up from my bedroom window. I could see inside the Arsenal football stadium, so I could literally watch a
Oh, wow.
game from my window. But perhaps because of that, I and all of the fandom around me, I have never gotten into football. Like it had the adverse effect.
Yeah. So, how would you say the blend of cultures has shaped you as an artist? What influences has those cultures had? Those two cultures.
I mean, everything. I think, anything as we get into creative pursuits, we're influenced by everything and we don't even realize it, right?
Mm.
But yeah, so I have a lot of inspiration. I personally love like the antiquated, the traditional, as a theme. It's inspiring. So I don't go to in Japan. I don't go down to the Akihabara electronic districts with people with pink hair and flashy lights and toys and stuff. And I don't. I sorry, that sounded demeaning. It wasn't meant to be. But I don't go into what's the visual of the kind of science fiction futuristic
Yeah.
Japan. I go on any chance I get. I go on a trip into the countryside, to the hot springs, to hike the mountains and go to shrines and temples, because that imagery is what inspires me. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Studio Ghibli. It's a very famous
Oh,
Japanese. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Some
like,
of my favorite films are Studio Ghibli.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Princess Mononoke is a film that really moved me as a child. So it's about, yeah, okay, okay. So I actually went to where they themed this island, kind of mid Japan, where they based like so it's they have a massive tree in the middle of the island, and there are key points in the movie, like fields covered in moss within this forest. And you can just imagine the kodama, like or the different characters and stuff there. But kind of connecting with nature has always kind of appealed to me far more.
Yeah. Oh,
Been
brilliant.
yeah, and of course, English, artists and writers have been inspiring.
Yeah, and, Ferdiad says, "I love Princess Mononoke." Is that how you say it? Mononoke? Mononoke?
Mononoke.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was it.
yeah.
Um, and then Chris says, "Hopefully Simon wasn't about to announce his intention to start having pink hair." We have a shop downstairs. I forget what it's called, but it's got all those cute, kawaii type,
Mhm,
toys and dolls and all that in, and it's so popular, really popular.
mhm.
So at what point could you pinpoint a time where, you realized that your creativity wasn't a hobby, but something that you wanted to pursue, full time?
Yeah, that's hard because I think a lot of people see, and I think they're told by parents and society around them, right, that creativity is a hobby. Um, but for me, it wasn't that case, right? Because I grew up around art. Art was in my family and in business, and I don't think I understood the business part of it. But from childhood, it was creativity is something that you can do full time,
Yeah,
and it can sustain you, whatever that means. But so I don't think there was, a moment, and there was never any kind of pushback either, from anyone in my family, from anyone around me. That was just follow your dream, and in a way that was very freeing, I guess. But trying to become a full time artist is a struggle. Trying to make that into a sustainable system. So that's why I was teaching for like 15 years, when I first came to Japan, because that's how you get the visa. That's how support your life, and as you're kind of growing. But I was always creating art, and that was always the goal.
yeah, wonderful, and it's great to hear that you had that sort of nurturing, support with it, because I think the arts in particular, whichever medium we're talking about, particularly over here, seems in the main to have, or to be seen as, um, almost extracurricular, in terms of, these are great hobbies and passions, but, it can be really, really difficult to have a career, as an artist or in any art form, whether that's even acting and painting and singing. The arts is very often, and where I work as a person who works in education, we've got a black box theatre, and we're all about creative arts as well as expressive arts and digital arts. But music and performance is really at the heart of our curriculum, and that's seen as something quite novel, because we tend to have more of a kind of academic focus on what you would consider that you need to train for a career. Does that make sense? So it's wonderful to hear that you had that all around you, and it was just something that came naturally over time rather than that forced decision.
Yeah, right. So my mother is actually also like, I grew up with her in a band. It's like a kind of a jazz sort of band, and they would kind of practice in our house. My godfather is actually, a name drop. Alex Jennings is like, he's been in movies, but his main career was as a lead actor in the Royal Shakespeare Company. So also going to stage performances, as a child, I really regret. That's another thing I miss from living in London. That I can't take my children, to see more kind of stage productions.
Mhm.
And the kind of productions here, I don't know how familiar you are with of the famous kabuki, but no theater and stuff. They're obviously very different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I love it. I've just been with a friend today to buy some tickets from the Playhouse. Any opportunity I get.
Hmm.
Um, so you've worked across many different mediums, from ceramics, design pieces, and then you went into designing playing cards, and now you've created your first tarot deck, as we mentioned, which is on Kickstarter. What I wanted to ask first before we talk about the deck is, what draws you to explore different mediums? Because it is quite varied, isn't it? What's the inspiration there?
Absolutely, yeah. So, I think I need to try and explain this through comparison. So I'm by no means comparing either the quality of the work or the popularity of it, but I see my work much like a kind of Marvel Studios concept, in that it's all one universe. So actually, I've published multiple books. I had to open my own publishing house in Japan. So I'm officially a publishing house in Japan, because that's how in Japan you get ISBN numbers. And so I, after opening my publishing house, I was getting requests like, "Can you publish our books?" And no, it's just for the purpose of indie for myself. Right?
Yeah.
But publishing books worked. I collaborate with a lot of Japanese artists, so I'm making Japanese white clay cups and my own designed custom ceramic cufflinks with a Japanese potter and ceramicist. And but for me, each different medium is a different canvas. So a book, a novella, a poem. The tool, the brush is words, but it's a different canvas. And so a cup that I design around it. And so the way I created the cups is, you have two mug cups and you put them together and it creates a consistent image across the two. So the idea is, two people drinking together, they put their cups down and they create a world, a frame. And so for me, each piece of art is kind of a window into this unified universe. So something that I think only about 3 people know, is that on my desk over here, I have a huge sheet of paper which has a timeline of all my lore. So in my nonsense fantasy stories, when was language created? When did the human disappear from being able to communicate with animals? Or like, there's a whole timeline. And then, like, so the cufflinks fit in this period in the timeline. And
Wow.
so everything is just a different window into this universe. And it sounds like grandiose, but that's not the idea, because I don't really tell people this. This is all for me, for what I'm creating. And then each different campaign, if you like tarot, then I don't expect you to be buying my mug cup, right? um, but you're going to see one window, and I hope that with every project you get the iceberg effect, right? So that you can sense that there's a lot more depth to it,
Mm.
because there is. It's not like an iceberg effect, right? It's there, but you don't need to know it. You can just feel that depth, is my hope.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think many of us in the tarot community have entered into artist's vision of their universe that they've created. A few that spring to mind is like Patrick Valenza. Don't know if you know much about him, from Deviant Moon and the whole world of Mildred Payne.
Mm.
Another one is Andre Asti with his Forgotten Code and his universe. So many of us do. Um, once we discover a creator and an aspect of their world, their universe, then we can tend to go down a rabbit hole as well.
Mhm.
So, and
Mhm.
that's good to know that. And I know when we look at your Kickstarter campaign, in a little while, there's lots of different add-ons and things, isn't there, as well, in terms of bungles and things like that into playing cards. Um, We've spoken over, I think it's the last couple of months. We've been communicating via email and on Instagram. And I know you've spoken about being inspired by Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. What is it about that story that continues to resonate with you?
Yeah. If I may, I love Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Lewis Carroll, so I will absolutely. But first, Elemental Cartomancy also brought up this is Tolkien-esque, and I appreciate that comparison. Tolkien was a linguist. And so actually Tolkien started from creating language and the Elven language. And so actually, again, it's not even mentioned in this current tarot project, but each suit is divided into an animal theme. So there are cats, dogs, and then, but each one of them has years and years of world building and lore from my novels and different things. So each one of them, actually, I have created an original language for, original like alphabet, and there's no reason to share it because people won't understand what is happening. There's too much to go into it. But I also, because I'm an English language teacher, I was, and a linguistics teacher. That's also where I was coming from the language. So that's a very good comparison to Tolkien.
Yeah,
Um, Sorry, could
that's
you
all right.
repeat your question once more?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about how you've talked about whimsical worlds that you
Alice. Okay,
create.
yeah.
Yeah, and then you being particularly inspired by Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, and I was just
Yeah.
wondering if that continues to resonate with you and any kind of comparables there.
No, absolutely. I think perhaps Lewis Carroll is one of my biggest influences ever. But first of all, it's like Lewis Carroll. It's Narnia. It's the concept of a hidden world because that's what I'm creating. So that still excites me. It excites me to, and this is very Ghibli as well, right? It's like Spirited Away,
Mm,
where like you just find yourself in this other place which works differently to your place. And so when I describe myself as well, I don't describe myself as a fantasy writer or artist. I describe myself as a nonsense writer and artist. And I think often that requires some explanation. Nonsense sounds derogatory, like there's no point in it, but that's not really what it's referring to. So, fantasy is where you've created a world different to our world, but it has a consistency. Like all animals can speak, or well, whatever, there are flying cars.
mhm.
Whereas nonsense, and the best example that many people can really relate to, I think, is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. But as somebody mentioned, is also Edward Lear, as a like nonsense poetry, and some beautiful work. Is there is no consistency. So maybe the Cheshire Cat can speak. Maybe a different animal can't speak. Maybe these humans look like real humans and these don't. And for me, that translates both visually and to language. So I've published my own book of original linguistic riddles, where the riddle behind, and actually in the updates for this current campaign, I'm posting one of my own original riddles in each update. So challenge gauntlet set to anyone who's going there. But the challenge in them is that words, each word, like there are hidden puns and hidden double entendres, and you need to find out. You thought that this word meant this, but oh, now you actually realize that it means this, right? And the same visually, like you thought that this character, this theme was representing one thing, but then you realize halfway through, oh, it never represented that, it represented something else. And that kind of realization creates a journey.
Yes,
um
absolutely. It reminds me of the Jabberwocky. I remember at
yep.
school, we all had an assignment to go away and decipher the Jabberwocky
Yeah.
and translate it into what we thought it meant and then present it back at school. But exactly that point, yeah.
I think for me that is something that's drawn me in, where there's a journey in interpreting something.
Mm,
I think for me, despite being an author and an English linguistics teacher, that stems from being dyslexic as well. And so there's a kind of, dare I say, mastery of your art form, whether it is language or paint or whatever. But beyond that, there is then you can play with it because the rules aren't rules. Like somebody's decided don't end a sentence in a preposition, but I mean, who decided that? Someone randomly decided that at some point, right? At some point before there were no dictionaries, and they decided to bring all dictionary and create one. Somebody decided these things, but once you've explored it in enough depth, then you can play with it more, right?
Well, with flexible logic, it gives you permission to create without rules, doesn't it?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
that, yeah, and that gives you must give you an enormous sense of freedom as a creative person.
I think so. And going back to teaching linguistics, I think you do need that base, right? You need the basic understanding to be able to play with it in a way that people can still comprehend. Because if you make a nonsense poem, like the Jabberwock, um, and if you don't actually speak English, so there's actually I was watching this a couple of weeks ago. I think it was Spanish, as a Spanish or Italian musician from a couple of decades ago created a song just to prove that the popularity of English is what was selling records at the time. That he just made English sounding sounds that they weren't even words. He was just making a song that sounded like the Beatles, like in a way, and it became a hit in his country.
Right.
It was, but it had no meaning at all, right? It wasn't. It was just sound. I
Yeah.
think you need to start from an understanding, and then you can play with it, and people can still connect with it.
And that's the parameter of your timeline, your universe that you've created, because it all fits within that.
Right. So for example, one of my nonsense stories is how the chameleon. It's about the chameleon getting its color, and so at one point, all of the animals were getting their color, and so like it's sort of like each one is a sort of creation story.
Mhm.
So this the leopard was getting its spots, and but the chameleon was not joining them in the process of getting its color, and so it never in the end got a color. And that's why when it lands on a leaf, it turns to the color of the leaf, or when it's on a branch, it turns to the color of the branch. And so like there's a level of, and obviously I'm being very simplistic here, but you need to kind of understand a little bit of about evolution and certain things. But then with that, you can then play with the idea of, oh, how could that have been? So that's obviously very just so story inspired. But yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. And animals are central to your world. Why do you feel, Jack, that people connect so deeply with, how should we put it, animal archetypes? What is it about animals that you think people connect so deeply with? Because they're really important to your work, aren't they?
Yeah. So I think with as I've been multiple mediums and multiple published books, I think there are only about 4 or 5 human characters that I've created. Um, but for me, like there's been an appeal, there's been an attraction to, and again, I don't even like the word animals because we are animals, right?
Mm.
And it sounds so, and I don't mean this to reflect on your use of the word, but it sounds so egotistical to separate us. Um, but other animal life has been kind of downgraded in human society, right? So we are separate, but we are not, right? And there's so much connection that we have with animals, with other animals, that we've lost, and they have something that feels kind of deeper that I think a lot of people are searching for, some connection with nature, connection and understanding with how life works and the cycle of life, that modern society for people has kind of diverged so far from, that we don't even like it. It sounds foofy and it sounds like airy fairy discussion, but it's not. Like, that's where we come from. So I
Yes,
think there's like a very natural, innate kind of connection that everyone has with animals and nature, that a lot of people, and I think a lot of the tarot community especially, may be kind of striving to get back to.
absolutely, absolutely, and the interconnectedness of all living beings. Yeah, yeah, and you're absolutely right. We have separated ourselves out. We class ourselves, don't we, as a species of being top of the food chain. But put yourself in a different situation. You know, depending where you live out in the wilds, that's not necessarily the case. But yeah, I like that. So thank you for sharing that. If we move on then to the project itself. So for anyone discovering for the first time, do you want to tell us what Arcane Wildlife is at its heart?
Oh wow, okay. So like an elevator pitch sort of
Shall
thing.
I also see if I can share the screen and I'll scroll through your Kickstarter campaign?
Sure.
Um, hopefully, and I'll get my YouTube open just to make sure that this is um, sharing correctly. As I mean, look at that. 351 backers. Your pledge was your goal, sorry, was 4,797, and it's 28,569, which is brilliant. I'm not sure if it's showing though because it's not appeared on my laptop. But is it showing for you?
I can't see it. It's in the small tab at the bottom again, but not up on the main screen.
Oh, see if see what I can
I see
do.
a toolbar that says screen share. Yeah. So while you're searching for that, I'm happy to introduce the project.
Yeah, brilliant.
Um, so I come from. So someone else says that they can't see it yet either.
Yeah, see, for me, it's saying stop sharing. Well, which indicates that it should be sharing, but I'll press stop sharing and see what happens there. But try again.
Thank you for the commenter saying my son's voice sounds so cute. I think both of them sound really cute, and I had to include them partly because I know their voices are adorable, but also because I hate my own voice, and so I needed a redeeming audio quality in there.
I could try.
So the project is because I have more of a history in creating playing cards. The fundamental concept of the project is exploring the history and the divergence of playing cards and tarot, and kind of trying to reunite them. So bring these two cousins back together. In their own linguistic in languages, so the way that they represent cards and the way that they use cards. So the tarot still include the playing card pips, and the minor Jack Queen King or Knight Queen King are two-way designs, but then that's adapted to explore tarot with light and shadow. And so also there is a playing card deck in the project, but that is heavily inspired by tarot, and each pip has the deeper symbolic meaning inspired by the familiar tarot decks that everybody has grown up with. So fundamentally, that is the inspiration. But for each level, there is a deeper kind of philosophy that I was trying to explore when creating them as well.
Brilliant. I mean, they're so beautiful. So, do you want to talk us through the process of how you create from sketch to color in a little bit more detail?
Sure, sure. And thank you everyone for commenting on my voice. It's being here in Japan. When I go back to England, people ask me where I'm from, and so maybe that's kind of made me anxious about how I sound, but yeah, maybe everyone dislikes their voice, but I can't re-listen to any kind of my wife will be watching this later, and I will have to be trying not to hear myself speak. Um, yeah, so the creation process, the art process that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So it begins everything, and I'm sure a lot of artists begin like this. And I think I told you this before, but in writing, there are terms architect and gardeners. So the general distinction is that an architect plans the plot of the story, the beats, like every major step, and then just starts filling it in deeper and deeper, so they have that framework. Whereas a gardener has their idea and then lets the words flow, and so like the words grow and the story becomes itself organically. And so I kind of approach both writing and the artwork in the same way, in that I do a lot of research. So I start as an architect, where I know the themes that I want to explore, and I will dive into them very deeply. And so every animal on every major arcana was very carefully considered, for what it symbolizes. Of course, to me, in
Mm.
English culture and folklore, and in Japanese culture and folklore, and what it could represent, to a wider audience, and how those poses, everything also translates. But then once you start drawing, some things feel right, some things like feel that doesn't work, right? So then it becomes a sort of flow state, if that makes sense. So I after doing a lot of research, then I'll do kind of an outline sketch on paper. Then I'll bring that to the computer, and I have my tablet and pen, graphic pen, where I start to go over the details. And color palette is very important. So deciding what kind of tones to select. So I kind of trowel the internet, and I go through seasons of. I think Japanese culture is very seasonal, and they have a very big thing about, we have 4 seasons in Japan. And when I first got here, I was like, okay. Like, don't most places, many places do, like, like, but they really celebrate their seasons. So and in many ways it's great, because like they'll have very seasonal foods. And in England, I think we can get the fruits that we like pretty much all year round. But here, this fruit is only available in this season, and it's like Christmas, because then you're waiting the whole year round for that fruit season to come back. And also it feels, I mean, surely that's better, because that means they're local products that are, grown naturally, so they're not big greenhouses or something. But this concept of being connected to seasons. um so for this one, I mean, for me, I'm an autumn boy. I don't know anyone else out there, but autumn colors. But these are very earthy, grounded colors that kind of, I think, bring us to a sense of nature, and an archaic sense, um, where art would have been made from natural resources, right? So whether it's wood or stone or something, right? So that's kind of the creative process, and then going into the details with the coloring it in. Yeah. Do you have any more specific questions about that process, or was that clear?
Uh, no, I mean, that was so clear. Thank you. Thank you for explaining the process. I wanted to ask about, obviously, you've kind of taken tarot and your previous knowledge and creativity around playing cards into kind of one a system, but you've done it so cohesively, as we can see here. Um, so how? how did you approach designing that in a way that makes symbolic sense? In terms of in terms of the pips in particular, with playing cards and tarot, that the amalgamation of the two. Let me
Okay.
stop sharing this now.
Somebody mentioned that these are the reminiscent of Latvian Easter eggs, and yeah, I like that comparison. A lot of Japanese traditional art as well is an inspiration for me, obviously. Japanese temari bell balls, which are made from thread wound around that creates kind of symmetrical and intense patterns and stuff. But yeah, so I think that's a good comparison. The pips. So yeah, I apologize if I'm using playing card language.
That's
So I
okay.
refer to them as pips and courts and
Yeah,
yeah. So those were a very interesting challenge to approach, I think, where I wanted to make them playable as playing cards and readable, with enough symbolism to interpret
yeah,
as an not an archetype, but as a scene where you can grasp meaning and create kind of a story and a narrative behind it. So in the campaign, I haven't really shown much of the guidebook, but the guidebook is very handwritten, like custom made, but it's very hands off in that it doesn't go into the depth of some of your guests that have spoken about their guidebooks, talking about the history of this. For me, it was more what this could represent to you, but giving the reins to you as the reader.
like it.
So the inspiration was taken from familiar tarot so that it wasn't too difficult. It wasn't too challenging to understand what could this be referring to. But each pip actually follows the story of one of our animals. So I don't have any of them to show as I speak, but say the two of one of the suits is the rabbit starting off leaving the warren on an adventure to explore the wider world, which is both daunting because of all the dangers, having left the safety of the warren. And then the next phase, the three, is the next step in that story where, oh, he hears a sound or there's a shadow of a hawk above and he has to hide beneath a rock or something, and it follows a story of a character. So they're narrative moments that then can be interpreted, right? So that you can interpret this as a sense of freedom, but also a daunting choice. Like, do I make this leap? Do I take this step away from safety? And so then the symbolism in there is supposed to try and represent that, but in a way that anyone can interpret, and people will interpret them in different ways. So for me, a lot of the major arcana, moving away from the pips, but just in terms of how to interpret, um, I know somebody in a previous one of your videos was talking about how the tower card is often interpreted negatively, but for them it was a positive card.
Mhm.
For me, the each major arcana is focused on one very clear animal, but the tower card, the animal wasn't the tower, the animal was the lightning. So that was
Like,
my interpretation of the impact of action, the impact of uncontrollable sudden action on a foundation that you thought was strong but turned out not to be enough. um so like yeah, it was, but the concept is taking something familiar, um but in a way that everyone can interpret differently and
yeah,
everyone can hopefully connect to, and tie together with this narrative thread.
brilliant. And I just put Chris's comment up there, and I agree. And every time I do a video, tarot guidebooks are great, I think a lot of people, if they're too generic or they go into tarot history, which there's a myriad of them, they tend to just end up staying within the boxes. We all like to hear, if we're investing in a deck, the creative process. We like to hear what the thoughts of the creator is with those particular archetypes, those cards. So that you're on the right track. I can't speak for everyone, but another tarot book that goes through the history of tarot, and it's there's a whole library of them. And you touched on the major arcana there, Jack. I just wanted to ask, how did you choose which animals would represent which major arcana? Was that process quite easy, or was that quite challenging?
For some of them, it was far easier than others.
Mm,
But yeah, no, it was as mentioned before, a lot of thought and a lot of personal thought, so personal connection with them. And I hope that people have similar connections, but also like art can be interpreted by different people in different ways. But so, for example, the fox. The fox is my magician, and there are a lot of reasons for it. That the fox is considered wily and cunning. So we have English stories about a fox that steals from farmers, and in Japanese folklore, the fox and the tanuki, the Japanese raccoon dog, they are shapeshifters. So they really are tricksters, and they can lead people to their deaths. But in reverse, the foxes are also messengers for the gods. So you'll see fox statues lined up around Japanese Shinto shrines.
mhm.
And the idea is that they communicate between the gods and people. So they are kind of like, I guess, kind of like wisps, which they can be dangerous and guide you, lead you astray, but they can also be there to help you.
Yeah.
And I saw the fox, the magician, in the same light, where they have like a finger in both realms, so they touch the ethereal, but they also are grounded in reality. And if you actually look at the fox artwork, and so where the archetype comes in. And then when I get into being a gardener, right, so when I get to just a kind of creative flow, you can see that the fox, each paw of the fox is a different color. And so in my mind, I was kind of creating a story that, okay, so one hand is touching the heavenly, the something beyond. One hand is grounded, but in the same sense, like, did he start that way, or is he born that way, or perhaps he has some kind of coloration. Maybe he's an introvert, and he was like set apart from the pack, and as a result, this is again me connecting with the character as an introvert myself. As a result, trying to explore the arcane, explore a different language that made sense to him, because no one else was kind of participating with him. He wasn't part of society. Like the Hierophant. Sorry, am I pronouncing that correctly again?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
okay.
it's Hierophant or Hierophant, either way
Hierophant.
works.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
For me, that made sense as a kind of spiritual leader, as a guide. The elephant, so elephants follow the matriarch, right? So the oldest elephant of the, I think there are a few words for a group of elephants. The trumpet, the parade,
Right.
but yeah. So I think they follow the matriarch, so that made real sense to me. And then there's just linguistic fun, right? So the hierophant and elephant just sound nice, right? Like there's a linguistic association there. So,
Yeah.
but there was a lot more. There was a lot of thought between each animal and the connection that it has symbolically, culturally, and then linguistically with the major arcana.
And you mentioned color being quite important there, and I was going to ask you about color in as much as how do you feel certain colors enhance the energy of I suppose the original drawing, but also the energy of the character of the card. Do you use color in that way, as in, for this character in the card and the qualities that you want to bring out with that archetype, that character? Do you have a set sort of color scheme that you always use?
Yeah, I think so. So every project has a different palette. Um, this one, as I say, was selected through like autumnal earthy colors. And there are juxtapositions of colors. So we have like a mustard yellow, and it's a very stark contrast to the kind of ash black. So it's not a full black. And those colors, I think, we'd kind of play with our human interpretations. And so yellow and black wasps, and so like we have an image of danger, but also obviously any card that's associated by me with to me with the night, with exploring darkness and shadow and living a different way. So for example, the hanged man, again, choosing animals, it was very natural to be a bat for me because they hang. Right? But at the same time, I liked that for many reasons. So bats hang by choice. They're not hanged, right? They hang.
Yeah.
And so again, I'm interpreting them differently. For me, it's not a bad thing, but they live in a world of darkness. They live and see the world in a very different way to us. And when we say live in darkness, that sounds negative, but that is them thriving. That is them seeing the world in a different light, literally upside down, and that is their universe. Is
Mm,
just different to ours.
yeah.
But so that card, I was obviously using a lot darker colors, in order to show that contrast, that shadow and light, that different realm. So yeah, I think like the juxtaposition of colors, but also what meaning that has. Yeah.
And it's fascinating, and I don't know if it's probably purely by coincidence because you very freely said about not being from the world of tarot, but the world's most famous tarot deck, which is the 1909 Rider-Waite Smith. The colors that you've chosen kind of relate to that deck, the mustard yellows and the shades of blue. And when you look at that, it looks like a tarot deck because
Mhm.
of those associations. Was that deliberate, or is that just happened by chance?
A little bit of column A and B.
Okay.
So I chose the colors that I like, but also those same tones of, so it's slightly different shades, but those same tones of red and blue and white.
Yes.
I think these are some of the original colors that we had access to, pigment, right?
Mhm,
So that's why so many flags. Our the Union Jack, the Union flag, same colors.
mhm,
Um, so playing cards traditionally have those same yellow, red, blue, black. So it's a kind of palette that is familiar with the playing card community, with the tarot community, and but it's not just about that familiarity. There's a reason behind it because these were the pigments that we were working with, and so then that brings us further back to something more organic, something more natural.
mm. Lovely, brilliant. Was there a particular card that challenged you, either creatively or emotionally? Was there one in particular that perhaps challenged you more than others?
I think there were two cards that most challenged me. Those were the Fool and Strength. Sorry. The Fool, it's very dry here and it's still very early.
Yeah. Do you need to get any water or anything? We're okay
I
if
have
you.
I have my Earl Grey.
Oh, you got your Earl Grey.
The Fool challenged me in that I don't see him as a fool, right? Like the name is a misnomer, in that there is a level of blind optimism, um, but that doesn't make you foolish, right? That is in many ways a strength, and in many ways describes my wife. But I wouldn't call her a fool, right? um,
I
so I
wouldn't.
think like how to create that form, how to create that in a way that I was connecting with. I think that was a challenge for me. So at first, I had the fool with the open mouth, which is supposed to be in awe of the nature around, but also to show the inattention to the danger ahead. But the open mouth felt too kind of droll, too childish, too unaware that it's almost caricaturish, right?
Right.
So then I close the fool's mouth, and it's more like enjoying contemplating the nature around and being so in that world that you're not focusing on the danger ahead.
Right.
So I had to kind of play with that for me to be able to connect with the fool.
Yeah.
And then strength was a challenge for me because conceptually, I wanted a tiger to be strength, um, because of the majesty, but the subtle majesty. Like a lion has that I'm strong, look at me sort of like atmosphere. But a tiger is wants to hide, wants to blend in. The stripes of the tiger, I think it's been a meme going around, but the stripes of the tiger, the orange and the black, which seems so stark, so look at me, to us humans, but we need to stop seeing the world from our perspective. We need to see it from others' perspective, right? So actually, deer and the common prey of a tiger are colorblind to orange, and they don't see a distinct difference. So those stripes on the tiger are actually perfect camouflage for the tiger. But for us, hey, there's a tiger. We can see it very easily, right?
Yeah.
But I like that. I like the kind of subtle majesty of the tiger, and I think that draws in the archetypical traditional strength of strength,
Mm.
where it's a a female delicate character that has an inner strength, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but then what that challenged me is, what was the tiger calming, right? So the traditional strength calming, I believe a lion, a beast that was clearly ferocious and dangerous. But what would that be to a tiger who in its world is the top of the food chain?
Yeah.
So then I brought in a fantastical animal, and it's the only fantastical animal in the deck. So I was trying to struggle with that. So it's a kind of a dragon. Is the creature that the tiger is calming, and the reason I went to that was there were quite a few reasons. On Patreon, so I have a Patreon channel, and we were talking about fantastical animals and what they represent. And then also, my son wanted me to draw a dragon. So there were, personal reasons as well.
Yeah.
So that's his favorite card now. Um, but I struggled like mentally trying to bring that together, to find what could strength becoming if strength is both an inner strength and an outward strength.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. And so you just mentioned that's now your son's favorite card. Ferdiad
Yeah.
has asked, do you have a favorite card that you've created in that tarot deck?
I think, as you may have gathered, talking about being a dyslexic introvert, my favorite card is the Hermit. And traditionally, the Hermit is drawn kind of on a mountaintop, on a cliff face, overlooking the world, kind of retracted from it. But for me, the I wanted to draw the hermit in the midst of a deep forest.
Mhm.
And the hermit is a bear, and the bears hibernate, and they're fairly solitary. Um, and so like I kind of connected with that. Um, but the idea of in a forest that life is all around you, like
Mm.
the forest is teeming with life. You can probably I can imagine this hermit walking through the forest and hearing the millions of insect calls and everything happening around him, but it's set in night, so there's still little movement, and he has to navigate his way through this forest where everything looks the same, right? Every tree look like is just a blanket, or there's no path to follow. And for me, that felt apt. It felt like that's I connect with that life is all around, and we can explore it, but there's no path. And you have to find your own way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's brilliant. Yeah, and the forest is an ecosystem all in itself, isn't it? So, Chris asks, as an animal lover, do you struggle to choose animals to associate with some of the more negative cards, like the devil, for example? Did you struggle with your devil card?
That's a good question. But maybe this is a downfall of mine, but like as I was saying, I rarely see any of the cards as negative. Like,
No, it's not a downfall because there are positives and negatives with everything, and the tarot
right.
has that duality, of positives and negatives.
I mean, right. So in the same way that where I connect with the hermit, and because I personally connect with them, there's a loneliness, right? Like talking about how my family at the other side of the world, living in a culture where I speak Japanese, but not fluently. Like I can't. There are many things I can't communicate with. Uh, Again, I don't mean to hark on it, but the dyslexia and stuff. There's a disassociation, and it is lonely, and that is sad. And so yeah, there's duality in every card. And so for me, the devil, like I wasn't really contending with him. It was more, there is your nature, and your nature has and I don't know, even it's a human interpretation of what is good, what is bad, what is right, what is wrong. For me, it is you, right? It is your nature. Is when It's funny when we watch documentaries, right? So we follow this leopard, and oh no, this leopard, there's not much food, it's harsh environments, they're climbing up these cliff faces, and the leopard cubs, they need to find some food, and we're like rooting for them. And then we see them chase something, and oh, they need to eat, otherwise they can't survive. And then they kill something, and we're like, wait a minute, were we just now I feel sorry for this deer right now. Right? And like there's a duality of nature, right? And I
Absolutely.
I think when I was looking at the devil, it didn't contend with me because that's how I felt about it.
Yeah, yeah. No, and when you think, the radical self-awareness that comes with the devil card, and so what character, sorry, was it that you've
It's
depicted
it,
for
it's a goat.
a goat? Okay.
Hmm.
I mean, that would lend itself to the devil card when you think of the devil as a Baphomet type
Hmm.
half goat creature. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, but absolutely, there is that duality with every tarot card, and that's what makes it so wonderful. Um, just wanted to move on now because I know you wanted to talk a little bit as well about Kickstarter and the reality of creating decks. So you've had several successful campaigns on Kickstarter. What would you say you've learnt um, about building a community of backers? What are some of the things that stand out for you?
Um, so about building a community, I was very lucky with my first Kickstarter campaign. In that all I did was put a year of work into making something that I was passionate about, and it was picked up by a community. And so that was a playing card project, and it was picked up by a few members, just a few people. But then they started sharing it in their community, and then I didn't even know, like, I wasn't marketing because I didn't know about these forums. And so I was very lucky that it connected with a few people, and then they shared it, and then they introduced me to this community, and then the project was successful, my first one. And from there, I think it was just all about, to be honest, honesty, and openness, directness, every step of the way. Um, so in my first project, the printer made the cards exactly as planned and as I had created and visualized and sent them the artwork for, but they gilded them the wrong color.
Uh,
So everything was intricate green artwork on the backs and the tuck box to uh, to represent shrubbery and a dense bush where my animals were hiding. So actually on the card backs there are hidden animals to find, and it looks like a perfect two-way, but it's not. But they gilded them silver when I requested gold. So they realized that only after they had packaged everything. And so they said to me, and props to them, they found the mistake and they said to me, we will now reprint them. And I said, well, what are you going to do with the misgilded ones?
yeah.
And they said, we're going to dispose of them. And I actually really struggle as a creator because of my personal thoughts of wanting to leave the world a better place. And so I think if my artwork is being made and being appreciated and enjoyed in someone's household, then the world is a better place, just a little bit. But if my artwork is being produced and wasted, and so trees are being cut down, and like I don't, yeah, it doesn't sit well with me.
No.
So I said, you can't dispose of them. I'll buy them. So then I bought them, and then I made a new tuck for them, and I simply called them my misgilded edition. But because they were also late to deliver, I gave one to each customer just as a thank you. And for that first project, it was successful, but I made no profit. I lost money. And I think I broke even being able to sell the remaining inventory about 3 years later. And so I wasn't even sure if I was going to make another project because I enjoyed it, but it wasn't sustainable, right? But
Yeah.
that community appreciated that openness, that honesty, and that responsibility that they saw, that it's not gimmicky, it's not as a means of marketing. It is how I want to be, what I want to create, what I want to represent. And I think that connected with people. So I
Yeah.
think that, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, there was a similar situation with the Mary Owl, which was a very popular, well, it still is a very popular tarot deck, where they sent it out in like a gunmetal gilding, and then a lot of the cards stuck together. So they recalled them all and sent them out again with a black gilding. But now, if you can get a gunmetal version, then everybody wants it because it's rare.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
But I know that wasn't your intention as such. So your projects have earned the Projects We Love recognition. So that must have been quite validating for you at the time. How was that experience?
That was actually really nice. So from that first project, I got a Projects We Love, and since then I've built some level of a relationship with Kickstarter, because from that first project, Kickstarter Japan actually invited me to join them in a kind of limited creators lunch, just to talk about creators that they wanted to kind of support, and that was incredibly validating, of course.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, soon after, Kickstarter Japan sort of closed down. so,
Oh,
so, yeah, I think they don't really have a presence in Japan. and they were trying to build their market here, but I think they've decided to focus elsewhere. But yeah, it was very validating. Only last year, if I may make a little brag, I got the
This award, the one that,
yeah.
yeah. So you won the 2025 Diamond Year Artist of the Year Diamond. Is that right?
Yes, so
Artist.
Diamond Award Artist of the Year, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a great honor, and it's a great honor not really because of the prestige of the award, which is wonderful, but because it's voted by people in the community.
Mm,
And at some point it's a kind of popularity contest.
yeah.
But I when it came to the awards, I don't really mark it because I don't want it to be, vote because I asked you to. I want, like, if even if you're a friend and a fan, if you preferred someone else's design and artwork this year, then vote for that.
Yeah.
I don't want people to buy art. Like, I think art is, it always surprises me when someone says, "Oh, your tarot deck, your playing card deck is $30. That's crazy." And I think, like, how much do you spend on going to see a Marvel movie at the cinema? Like, and like, it's a different experience.
Crazy as in too much or too
Too
little?
much, too much. Yeah.
Okay. $30 is not too much.
So
As someone,
$30 for a playing card deck. So in that community, so there are different expectations based on, what different creators can provide. And because I'm a smaller indie creator, we have smaller print runs, and so it's like we're just limited by what you can provide for margins. But then I think, like for art, like, you need to see this every time. Don't buy art because it's from a famous artist. Don't buy art because it's popular. Buy something that you're going to see every day on your wall, and every day makes you feel a way that you like to feel, right?
you have to feel art, don't you? You
Yeah.
have, it has to resonate. It has to mean something to you. Otherwise, yeah, the art that I have on my walls are all unique to me. You probably won't find them in anybody else's house, but that's
Mhm.
because art is personal.
Yeah.
Um, Even though, growing up, we had the crying boy because everybody in the 70s had the crying boy. But I used to
Okay.
think, I don't connect with that at all. It's everybody's got that. So I'm totally with you on that one. Um, the last question on the kind of Kickstarter then, and aside from, when things go wrong in terms of like your experience with the misgilding, what are some of the unseen pressures or challenges that running a Kickstarter brings up that people might not realize?
I think a lot of people, I mean, there are a lot. I think a lot of people enter Kickstarter with the wrong idea of what Kickstarter is. So a lot of people these days think it is a retail platform. So it's like a eBay or whatever, right? And that is not what it is. And I completely understand anyone as a backer backing a Kickstarter saying, I don't I'm here to get the discounted pre-order item. But that if you're not getting that, then I understand it, you don't want to support the project. I get that. I understand. But that is not the goal. That is not the incentive, right? You have a creator who cannot afford to create something, right? But they have hopefully the talent, hopefully the vision, and they have something beautiful that they can make if they get your support. And so, as a creator, the goal is to be able to bring what you are envisioning to life, right? And doing it once, that should be the goal. But if this is my 8th Kickstarter or something, it has to be sustainable. So I need to make a margin in order to be able to keep doing it. As I say, the first project lost money, even though you see, funded, there's the Kickstarter fees, there's the shipping costs which are included in the Kickstarter if you do it that way. There are all these invisible fees and I think a lot of backers, all they see is the funded and that number,
Yeah.
and they don't quite understand everything. So I think I mentioned this to you, that this current project now is 600%, something like that.
Fast approach. Fast approach. It's funded 7 times the amount, hasn't it? So
Okay. So I haven't, because I got up early to join here, I haven't actually seen it this morning yet. So,
and there's
but
still like 26 days to go, which is phenomenal, really. Yeah.
I'm blown away as always. I'm honored that anyone would like to have my artwork. So that means a lot to me. But I think we are probably just about broken even. So even though it's like 600, 700%, I think if I calculate all of the costs involved, I've probably just about broken even. And then from this point onwards, that doesn't mean that is all profit margin. That it means that there is profit from there, but there's still the additional production costs and the Kickstarter fees from anything in additional. And then from that, I do my charitable work. So post funding, after the funding is reached, then I do the charitable work, and then from that, I can make a margin to make this sustainable
Yeah.
for me to create. So there are challenges that people don't appreciate going in. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, with 26 days to go, every time you get another backer, that's another deck that's being produced anyway. So
Yeah.
therefore, there's the costs associated. Yeah, so you donate part of your proceeds, which I just wanted to touch on this because I think it's just really admirable, to animal welfare and environmental causes in Japan. Why is that woven into your business model? What does that mean for you?
Again, it all comes back to being proud of what I do
Mm.
and leaving the world a better place. So I hope that my work is enjoyed and it brings joy, and people can you know, enjoy the whimsy of these worlds and share them, play games with the cards with their children, or do a reading with my tarot and enjoy the process. And that is in a part making the world a slightly better place. But I am very aware that I'm making products which take natural resources, right? And so at the beginning, I for every deck made, I was helping plant trees because I wanted it to be, a net positive. And as we've grown, like in that first project also, we were helping lobster populations in the UK because they were kind of dwindling. And then as a result, with the community, I created an extra Joker ad card inspired by the traditional tarot fool, but the fool was a lobster. And
Wow.
so, like, for me, it is, yeah, it's making the world, leaving it in a way that I can be proud. Like, I made this product, people enjoy this product, but of course it took resources to make it. So, but I put those resources back. So we've symbolically adopted an Amur leopard, and that's with the World Wildlife Fund. But that's, symbolically, so they help with the habitats and tracking the populations, which are, again, they're critically endangered animals. And the biggest work we do is with a Japanese charity called Animal Refuge Kansai, which help rescue and rehome abandoned and displaced cats and dogs around Japan. And I feel strongly about these causes, not just, and again, it's like it can come across as a marketing ploy, right? And it is not. So I vetted this charity myself. So my own cat, Sir Galahad, is we adopted from the other side of Japan, actually, from like Osaka. through this charity. So I know how they work. I know the work that they're doing. And in a previous project, we helped one of our best funding projects. We actually helped them rebuild their cattery, so where they house their rescue cats, and so all sorts of activities. Again, because I want to leave the world better,
Mm.
and I want to show my sons that you can do that.
Yeah, and that's a wonderful ethos to have, and one I feel that more businesses should adopt. So thank you for that. Um, Beyond, we've talked about kind of the success already of your previous Kickstarter campaigns, and the success of your current one as well. But beyond the financial goals, what would make Arcane Wildlife feel like a true success for you? Do you think you could put that into words?
With every project, I have to approach it with a variety of goals. So there are financial goals, there are community goals, and then there are personal goals. And I'm try very hard to be an open book. So financially, I'm more than happy to be open. I've already invested. I do mine in Japanese yen, so I've already invested about 3 million Japanese yen, and then the funding goal of 1 million Japanese yen was just to complete the production cost. So it's not an arbitrary number. It's what I need to complete it, but I've already put way more than that.
Yeah.
And so actually, it's about 6.5 million is the break even point. That's Japanese yen again. And then for me, it would have to reach about 7.5 to, sorry, I don't have the figures right in front of me. So this is just roughly, right?
Yeah.
I would have to reach about 7 to 7.5 million to then have a margin for me to be sustainable. That okay, so this supports my mortgage for for a certain number of months. And then for me, the success figure is above 8 to 8.5 million yen. Is this campaign was successful? This allows me to, because I quit teaching, to focus on art full time. So this now allows me to continue that and can continue doing these projects full time. So I have these financial goals,
Mhm.
and then the community goals. So I have built a name in the playing card community, and I really appreciate that. But don't see myself, and I don't want this to sound arrogant, but I don't see myself as a playing card designer. I see myself as an artist who uses different mediums, and one medium has been playing cards. And so, as a community goal, trying to reach a new audience, new people. So, in this case, the tarot community, who can enjoy my worlds through a new window. So, my goal for this project was to get at least 200 tarot people into the project, and I think that's a modest number. But that was my goal, to kind of reach a new audience. In my mind, that means 200 new people from the tarot community. And then personally, yeah, it's to bring something beautiful into the world. So like, I need to be proud of what I make, and I need to bring it home, open it up, show it to my son, and he needs to go, "Oh, cool." Like, I need to make something that then I feel proud of having produced.
Yeah, brilliant. And there's the figure right now that Ferdiad has converted for you. So,
Thank you.
uh, um, and that answers my next question, which was: are you hoping this project bridges the gap between playing card collectors and tarot readers? So you've answered that beautifully. Um, and then just before we go into the final questions, and if anybody at this point is where we ask anybody in the chat if they want to ask you any direct questions as well. If someone picks up Arcane Wildlife 5 years from now, what do you hope they will experience?
I love that. Okay, so I hide a lot. As I told you, as I mentioned before about the iceberg, there's so much lore that I've created over a decade. Um, I hide a lot of it in everything that I create. And so a lot of the stories where, or a riddle where there are puns and things hidden, that my hope is that when I am 80 years old and I don't even remember creating this, that somebody contacts me to say, oh, I saw this that you made, whether it's your cup, your tarot, and I discovered this has like, and I can then honestly say, oh, you're the first to find that. I
So
just
there's
love that idea.
lots of little Easter eggs in
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
brilliant.
So, for example, and this is not such a little one, so I can say it. But the playing card, so this is not the tarot, this is the playing card in the project. When you open it up and you take the cards out, down on the inside of the box is one line, and it may be about 5 words. And this, there are two versions of playing cards in this project, and they have a different line in the middle. Hidden. So I would say 95% of people will never notice that. And then those are different lines. And this is actually volume 2 of a kind of series that I have. And volume 1 also had different lines in the middle. And when you put them together, you can create your own original haiku. And
Wow.
so there's like, and I don't advertise that. Like, I want people to just discover that, oh, what are these? Oh, that's a beautiful little line. That's very natural and symbolic. And then, oh, there's a different one here. And then, oh, there's a 5 syllable, 7 syllable. Oh, what can I create? And all of my work kind of has far more far more kind of hidden clues than that in it, and I just thrive on the idea of people discovering things for years to come.
That's brilliant. So, what's next in your Arcane universe? And you can swear us to secrecy if you really want to. Have you already begun thinking of the next project?
No. I have about 5 projects in the works. But not the next Arcane, not the next Tarot. My next main project is a playing card project themed on that I've also written novellas about, and I've also had another. So this is also a part 2 about the life of a wood mouse in Japan, and then the different groups. So the wood mouse, wood mice, field mice, house mice, and how they interact. And it's actually a very intriguing project where it's inspired by the traditional Japanese snakes and ladders, but it's a very old game. And the cards, when you lay them out, they actually create a story scene. So all of the cards create like a very long, almost like the Bayou Tapestry, sort of a long scene, and then that actually crisscrosses and creates the board for a snakes and ladders game. It's quite a complex, like, it's hard to explain without visuals.
Yeah.
But that's next for me personally. I was approached and very honored to be approached by the team behind the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy franchise.
Okay.
And so last year, I actually made the official Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy playing cards.
Wow.
And this year, I'm actually working on the official Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy tarot deck. So I'm
Wow.
a little early plug-in for their project. Yeah, so
Oh,
I'm
that's
excited to
brilliant.
bring that. Yeah.
Oh, congratulations. That's amazing. Um, what was the is it 49? The answer to everything? That's
42.
42, that was it. It's so many years since I've seen Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's gotta be at least 30 years since I last watched one. Um, Chris, I just had to put this up as put Jack, you're amongst tarot nerds now. We scrutinize boxes. We really do.
Good.
Um,
Please. This one, so the tarot one doesn't have the haiku in it, but it has details all over. So please explore.
We will. And then Roman says, Jack, we got your profile on Facebook. Is there a YouTube channel? You definitely got Instagram because that's how we connected, wasn't it, firstly? But do you have a YouTube channel? You've got Patreon, you said, but do you have a YouTube channel?
My main platforms are Instagram and Patreon. And I actually have a Shure mic because I want to start a YouTube channel and I've posted like 2 videos so far. I am camera shy. I hate my voice. And it's a lot of learning. Like, it's a lot of learning about script writing and, angle and focus and everything. So they're bad quality and it's a slow start, but I'm trying to build a YouTube channel.
Do you know, and it might sound, because, we talked about being introverts as well, and I'm an introvert. Put me in a party and I'm the wallflower.
Mhm.
I don't think there's a lot of YouTubers who don't like to see themselves on camera, myself included, and I think we all dislike our own voices, the sound of our own
Mhm.
voices, because we sound very different in our own head to
Yeah.
when we hear our voices back, don't we? But that's good to know. And then Saskia said, "How popular is tarot in Japan? Do you know?"
So actually, I've been in contact with like a tarot. There are a couple of tarot cafes, and there's a tarot museum. I think it is popular, but I don't think there's a huge creative market
Mm,
here. So when I approached the museum, I was like, I here's my CV. I'm creating tarot. I will be open to say do a talk at your place. And again, introvert, but just I know as a creator you have to put yourself out there, right?
yeah.
And they were like, oh, maybe, thank you. And that's a very Japanese response. Like anything unfamiliar that not is not in their normal business process is more difficult to explore. So like I find it hard to get into these kind of niche communities in Japan. And like a ironic story related to that. So in England I was doing kendo, yaido, jodo, and in a dojo in London. And then I started the kendo club in my university, and then I came to Japan and I couldn't get into kendo because in Japan, kendo clubs. So if anyone doesn't know, it's sword fighting, Japanese sword fighting. In Japan, kendo clubs, like you have to have gone to this secondary school, this high school, and those members go into this club. And it's really hard to get into one if you don't know them already, if you don't have a history with them. So in Japan, I ended up joining a ballroom dancing club to do something. So I did it the wrong way round.
That's funny. And then Cheryl, I don't know if you know Cheryl, but we do a monthly live together. She has an online business called the Oneness Emporium, and she says, "Do you have a UK stockist?" I think she's probably wanting to stock your project, your products and distribute in the UK. So if that's something you're interested in, I can hook you up
I
after.
think I think someone else also mentioned about wholesale and in the campaign. Um, yeah, I'm just trying to connect with the tarot community for the first time. So I don't have a UK stockist. I don't have wholesale in the campaign, but message me. Like
Yeah.
I'm completely open to connecting with people, and yeah.
Well, Cheryl stocks all the main big publishers like Red Feather, US Games, Llewellyn, Lois Scarabeo, but she also stocks independent
Okay.
creators as well of tarot and oracle and playing cards. So definitely be one to get in touch with. And then yeah, people are people are really on board with your project, so that's great. Um, to to finish off then, a couple of questions that I always finish with is if you could go back to your 16-year-old self, what advice would you give to a young Jack, a young 16-year-old Jack?
I mean, it's really hard. We were talking earlier about duality, about there's no card that's just negative, right? But there's pros and cons, and every life choice I've made, I feel maybe I shouldn't have done that. But then, if I didn't do that, what would the situation be now? There's a movie, I can't remember the name of it,
Sliding
where
doors.
sorry, once more?
Sliding doors.
Oh, I don't know. It's one where a person has the ability to go back in time. And
Okay.
so his father dies, and so he keeps going back in time to spend time with his father. But then he has a child, and then when he goes back in time, when he relives the life, his child is then first it was a boy, and then now it's a girl. And so the problem is that life is dynamic, right? And so we know the butterfly effect and everything, right? And at some point, if you go back, you will lose whatever you have.
The timeline will change.
Well, yeah,
Absolutely.
but I mean, it's like it's deeper than changing a timeline. It's deeper than the butterfly effect. It's like he didn't care about going back to see his father before having a child, but after he had a child, he could not go back again.
Hmm.
And so for me, sorry, I'm getting a little bit choked up. But I don't think I would change anything. I don't think I would meet my former self. I don't think I would tell them anything because my family. Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, no, and we are. You're absolutely right. I've said it many times on here. We are the sum of our lived experiences. So everything that's happened to us has made us the person we are now. Everything is in our DNA. And if you go back then and change one thing, our reality would completely change. So absolutely. And then the dinner party. So you can have a fantasy dinner party and invite three guests, one guest of honor and two other guests. They can be dead or alive. Who would you invite to your dinner party?
Wait, so the two other guests can't be famous, or
No, there's what no, it can be people that are famous, not famous, dead or alive, but one guest of honor, your primary guest, and then two other guests.
I would invite. There are some people that I love the persona of, but I know I don't know them. So it's weird when I see my wife getting very um, enthused about a certain actor or someone, right? But I said, like, you don't know him. Right? Like, I would want to talk to, and they're not dead. And so this is not a deep kind of answer, but Morgan Freeman and Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, that's
Because
great.
I feel like they're great people.
Yeah.
And I feel, I don't know, but maybe it's just the roles they play. I don't know. Um, yeah, there's not someone. There are so many people I respect, so many people I'm inspired by, but there's not someone that like it. I don't know them. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess I guess my grandfather who passed. I
Yeah.
wasn't very close with him, but I was also in Japan and I wasn't able to go and see him before he passed. So that felt like I have some guilt there. So like I
Y
think
who was it that said you should never meet your hero? There was somebody quite famous many years ago that said you should never meet your hero, and I think you're right to a degree because I think about my dinner party guests and I think, "But what if I have a meal with them and I really don't like them?" Because I like the persona of them, but the reality could be very different, you know? So, but yeah, but yes, and Chris said Keanu definitely seems also it does seem very grounded, I think is the best word to describe him. He doesn't seem to have been influenced by fame in the way that many others might have been. And people who talk about him just say he's a very down to earth, kind soul. And yeah,
yeah. I think he's had a lot of loss in his life as well, and so I think he like sees his what he's achieved with a lot of gratitude, and I think a lot of famous people lose that gratitude.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then I finished with a game called Paper Plastic.
Let's do it.
Um, I mean, and I know you're not. you're kind of coming into the tarot world. So don't. The idea of this is not to overthink it. You just say the first verse that comes into your head. So,
Okay.
paper or plastic,
Paper.
oracle or tarot,
Tarot.
matte or gloss,
Matte.
YouTube or Instagram,
YouTube.
big parties or small gatherings,
Small gathering.
tea or coffee,
Tea.
Waite or Crowley. Do you know those references? Arthur
I know. Wait, Crowley refers to.
Aleister Crowley. So he did the Thoth Tarot, and he was into the occult. Don't worry if
Okay.
you don't know who he is.
So I apologize. I probably should know these things, and I'm trying
Oh,
to
no,
learn.
no, it's
Wait.
absolutely fine. Wait, yeah, you know, wait.
Yeah.
Bordered or borderless?
Oh, that's a tough one. I've had a lot of pushback in playing cards. Borderless, because for me, use the canvas.
Yeah. Dark and creepy or rainbows and unicorns?
Ah, neither am I aesthetic personally, but I'll go dark.
Okay. Money or free time?
Free time.
Movies watched at home or in the cinema?
Ooh. Cinema, because just it's an experience.
Hmm. Life after death or total oblivion?
Life, but not
As we
not
know it.
as we know it. Not for myself. Yeah.
Okay.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah. Early bird or night owl?
Early bird. Yeah, I'm up. To be honest, I was up at 3:30 today for this, but that's not actually a stretch for me. That's quite common for me.
Right. I didn't think you seemed too phased by having to get up for 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Woodland forests or sandy beaches?
Woodland forest.
Toilet roll hanging over or under?
Over.
Oh, we were getting on so well.
Oh no.
Jack, thank you so much for reaching out and connecting with me. It's been great to spend the last hour and a half, no, nearly 2 hours actually with you and getting to know you a little bit better. Congratulations on the success of your current campaign. To say this is your first dipping your toes into the world of tarot, you've hit the nail on the head. It's resonating with so many people here. I've waited until after I've got to chat to you tonight to have a look at your campaign because I was trying to look at which add-ons to get and things like that, but I'm heading over there straight away. And yeah, I do hope that you enjoy being part of the tarot community, and you find your place here because you've got extraordinary talent, as we can see. Your art is incredible. So long may that continue. And just wanted to say thank you for reaching out to me and for being a guest on Catching Up With, because it's been an absolute pleasure. Is there anything you want to say before we sign off?
Just to reciprocate, thank you so much for having me here. Yes, it's my greatest hope to reach out and connect with the tarot community, and just like I did with playing cards, hopefully if I am received well and people seem to like what I can create, then I would love to continue creating and learning and growing within the community. So yes, thank you very much. And if I can do a shameless plug, please look at the campaign.
Yeah. And after, well, the link is in the description of this video anyway. So if you're if you weren't here at the beginning of the interview where we was looking through the Kickstarter campaign, then go to the description. There's a link in there. It will take you straight to it. And there's 26 days left of the campaign. But if you just stay on, Jack, at the end, and I'll say goodbye to you properly. But thank you everyone for being here. Next Saturday's live is Spotlight with Cheryl from Oneness Emporium, where we'll be looking at new UK releases. And also I'll be joined by Sandra from Spirit of Avalon, who will be with me here in the cave. So it's going to be an extra special spotlight next Saturday. So I hope you can all join me for that. And I've still got around 7 or 8 decks to review this week. So I should be on uploading every night at 7 p.m. like I have done this week. But thank you for being here, everyone. Thank you for the questions that you've put to Jack, and thank you for your ongoing support. And we'll see you all soon. Bye, everyone.